In this tutorial, we're going to talk about the Spring Boot command line runner. So I recently wrote this article on what the command line runner is and what it can be used for. And so in this tutorial, we're going to quickly go through most of that and kind of walk you through everything that this article does. I will go ahead and link to this below, so if you want to read the full article, that would also be great. So we're talking about the command line runner, and this is defined as an interface used to indicate that a bean should run when it is contained within the application or the Spring application. And so all this means is that if we define something, if we define this bean and it implements the command line runner interface, that it should go ahead and run on startup. And on startup, this gives us a couple of things that we can really do with that. We can kind of bootstrap something, we can initialize some data, and that's actually what we're going to use it for in this example, is in our development environment, just go ahead and creating some data. So let's quickly jump into this. So I have a very simple project here that I created. You can tell from the Maven POM here, that all we did is pull in JPA, the starter JPA, the starter web, Lombok for our domain model, and an H2 database. And we're just going to create an image service. So we're going to have a representation of an image, which is in our domain package. All this has is an ID and the name of the image. We're using Lombok here to kind of cut down some of the verbosity of our domain object here. So we have this image, and then we have this image service, which is basically going to be used to save this image off. So we have a save method that basically calls our image repository and saves off this image to the database. So now what we want to do is go ahead and create, there's got to be somewhere where we can go ahead and programmatically create this data. And so what we want to do is, remember, the command line interface the command line runner is an interface that we need to implement. So here in our base package, I'm going to create a new Java class, and we're going to call this database loader. And so what this database loader is, it's going to go ahead and load the data that we go ahead and set up for it. So this is a component. I'm going to go ahead and mark this as a component. And what we want to do is, again, we're going to implement the command line runner. So there it is. And now you see we get some red squigglies, and that's because we need to override some methods within there. And there's only one method in there, and it's called run. So we're going to override that. Now before we do that, we actually need our image service if we want to go ahead and save those off. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and create a private variable of type image service, and we'll just call it image service. And then I'm going to create a constructor that will go ahead and auto-wire that up for us. Remember, we don't need @auto-wired here as of Spring 4.3. Because there's only one constructor method there, it's going to go ahead and automatically wire that up for us. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and load some images. So in this case, we're going to say image service dot save, and we're going to say new image, and all this image takes is a name. So we'll just call this image1. And so that should save off our image. So I'm going to do that actually 2 more times, and we'll say 2, and we'll say 3. Again, not the coolest example in the world, but because this is marked with @component, this will get picked up. And because we're implementing the command line interface, the run method, this is going to get run on startup. So I just want to make a little note here. So let's go ahead and do private final logger. Logger is equal to logger factory dot get logger, and we'll say this is our data. What is this? Database loader dot class. So that's what we need there. And the reason I want to do this is I just want to show you that this does get run. So let's see, loading data from database. Let's make sure we know this database loader. Okay, so now if we go back to our main application and we go ahead and run this, now when we look in the console here, as it's starting up, we should see that log. Oops, I do have some going on here. Let's fix that real quick. That is from me writing too much Groovy and not remembering semicolons. So let's go ahead and run that again. Okay, so now that this application is started up, we are actually looking here in the console, and if we look closely, we can see our log message here that says loading data from database loader. So if I run back over and I go to localhost 8080 and I go to my H2 console, we should go ahead and be able to see those images there. So I think we called this just images, and let's go ahead and connect. And if we look in images and we go ahead and run that, we see our 3 images. So far, so good. Now, what happens if we wanted to create another database loader? Maybe we had some different things that we wanted to do. So what I can do here is create another database loader, and that's going to be a class. And let's go ahead and I'm just going to copy some stuff in here. That way you don't have to watch me. And I think this is it. So again, we're logging. This is going to be called another database loader. That's our constructor. We're basically getting our image service again. We're doing 4, 5, and 6, but now we're loading from another database loader. And so we're going to mark this as at component. So now what you might be asking is, all right, I have, let's see, we got an error going on here somewhere. Not sure what that is. So now you might be asking, all right, I have this database loader and I have this another database loader. How do I know which one I can run first? Well, there actually is an annotation that we can put on any of our classes that implement this command line runner here, and we can say order. And so all we're given here is a value. So I want to say the order of this one. Actually, let's run this second so we know. So the regular database loader that we created first, we want to go second. And now we can say at order. And we can say that we want this one to go first. So now if we go ahead and run our application again, what we're going to see is we're going to see the both of these actually run up and get loaded. But because we've annotated at another database loader with at value 1, at order value 1, now this is going to be the first one that gets run, and that's how it resolves that conflict resolution of which one should I use first. So let's go ahead and look down here, and we'll see loading database from another database loader, and then loading data from database loader. So let's go ahead and look at this again. So we should see 4, 5, and 6, and then 1, 2, and 3. So let's go ahead and connect to this again. Back to image, run, and here we go. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this all works. I'm going to go ahead and comment this out and this out, so this doesn't actually run. So this won't get picked up because it wasn't registered in our Spring application context. So that's exactly what I want to happen, because I want to show you just one more way that you can do this. All right, so I'm back in my main image service application, and what I want to do now is actually load the data right here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to create a new bean here, and I'm going to give it a type of command line runner, and we'll call this runner. And this is going to return our args. So again, we're actually using a functional interface here because our command line runner only has one method that we need to override, which is run. So we can do that with a lambda expression here in line. So if I go back over here and grab this data that I wanted to save, we can easily do so by dropping this in here. we're going to pull in the image class, and then I also want to inject the image service in here so it knows where to grab that from. And so now, again, none of these are going to run because we haven't marked these with that component. So if I go ahead and run this, actually, let's just go ahead and run, stop and run. So again, this is just another way to go ahead and load some data. In this case, we're implementing the interface, but we're doing it right here in our main image service application class instead of creating a whole new class that implements that interface. So if we go back to our program here and go look at our H2 console, and same thing, connect. Again, remember this is a in-memory database, so this gets destroyed and created on every time we run. So if we go ahead and run, there's our image 1, 2, 3. So I really hope this helped out. Command line runner, cool little interface that we can use in our applications in different ways. We saw a way that we can use it right in line in our main application file, our main application class. We also saw a way that we could create different classes that implement that interface, and how we can actually have multiple classes that implement that interface and kind of create that order by using that @order annotation. So I hope this was helpful. I'll put some links below. If you like this, please hit that subscribe button, like this video, and there is a course on Spring Boot that I've created. So if you are interested in learning more about Spring Boot, the link will be below. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this one and have a great day.